All I'm saying is, just because these creators may be older, don't put it past them. They can still do anything.
Oh, for sure.
My point is, I believe if they wanted to, they could kill people.
Sure. I believe they can do whatever they want.
Right.
They created Power Pack.
That's what I said.
Of course they can do whatever they want.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Finally.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics. Keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dale Bush.
Do you think they'll ever bring back True Believers?
No. I think they're definitely going to keep doing like full-price Facsimile Editions because they don't have to change anything about it. Like they don't have to give it like a new cover or trade dress or new ads or formatting or anything.
They don't have
and
to
they can charge $4 and up.
They don't have to change True Believers. They just choose to.
I suppose. Yeah, like this is, what, $4? Yeah, $4.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would they ever do anything else?
How much was it at the time, though?
Especially because they might actually sell more copies of the Facsimile Editions than they would have
of the regular issue when it came out.
And that's setting aside the increased profit for a $4 comic versus a $1 one. Yeah.
It's just weird to be not promoting, but, actively displaying a Jason Latour book.
No, you're not wrong. That's true.
But
I hadn't considered that.
It's such a pivotal character for so many people. Hell, we had her in Sidekicks for years.
Yeah, I guess it's an interesting thing. And it's
Spider-Gwen, that is. That's what we're talking about, Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, not anything I've really given a ton of, real consideration towards. But when you think about kind of excluding the work of a creator like Jason Latour from Challengers, there's stuff where his name is really associated with it. And then there's stuff like Spider-Gwen where I don't know that a lot of people would consider that a Jason Latour book. Like, that's not why they're interested in it. Like, they might not even know he's a creator involved in it.
Yes, but
he still profits from it.
And we know he's the co-creator.
We do. So it's real tricky. Yeah. I hadn't honestly considered when we were doing Final Order cutoffs for the Edge of Spider-Verse #2 Facsimile Edition that we probably shouldn't have carried it for the shelf. Instead, we ordered a bunch because it's the first appearance of Spider-Gwen.
Right.
And that character means a lot to people.
Again, like, the allegations against the creator, while valid, don't outweigh the joy the character brings to people who have no idea who Jason Latour is.
I mean, I don't know that I could make a statement like that because that's the sort of calculus everybody has to do on their own. For some people, it absolutely outweighs the joy the character might bring people, so they will, stop being a fan of that character.
I meant on a whole, universally.
Well, that's the thing. Universally, you can't make that statement. Like, that's your perception of the kind of cost-benefit analysis of this whole thing. Like, weighing the two sides against each other.
Because if you look at all the people that saw, let's say, the Spider-Verse movie, how many of those millions of people have any idea who created any of the characters? Hell, who can name who created Spider-Ham?
Sure. No,
who can name who created Spider-Man Noir?
You're not wrong, but each individual person is allowed to kind of make up their own mind about that. If people want to pass up a book like that. So what I was getting at, though, was we're kind of doing that as store owners. Like, we're weighing things against each other. Obviously what Jason Latour has done is abysmal. But on the other hand, there are people who have a fondness for the Spider-Man character and, like you said, brings them a lot of joy. And they don't have any idea of who created it and what that person might have done. So, I
think there's a level where a creation outlives the creator.
I guess.
I mean, on the one hand, no one's ever going to look at Cerebus and say, no, that's fine.
Right, and that gets back to my point about, the things that Jason Latour is associated with versus the things that he had a hand in that people don't necessarily consider him in association with. Because, like you said, but people who go to see, Edge of Spider-Verse or Into the Spider-Verse, they don't have a lot of awareness of the people behind the characters. And you reach a point where even, the Into the Spider-Verse version isn't the Jason Latour, Robbie Rodriguez, Rico Renzi version.
Right,
It's an interpretation of that by other creators. So you're at that point even once removed from that. So it becomes,
Okay, so hypothetically, and this was in no way where I expected this podcast to start this week.
Okay.
Is it possible, and this is for you specifically, Dal Bush,
okay,
to have something you love ruined by something that happens now? For example...
Something already did happen, yes. Supreme Blue Rose, I bring it up a bunch.
Yeah,
it's one of my all-time favorite comics, and I don't even feel comfortable stocking it at the store,
sure,
let alone recommending it in the way I used to because of what I've learned about Warren Ellis. It absolutely 100% ruined one of my all-time favorite stories.
I just wanted to...
Can't reread it, ever.
I wanted to make that same analogy, which great, by the way, but Power Pack. Could something ruin Power Pack for you?
Oh, no. I mean, it's... June Brigman and Wheezy? No.
I mean, just what if?
Oh, sure. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. Again, it's the same thing. Yeah.
What if they go on a murder spree?
Sure. Yeah, that would ruin it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing in my life.
You can still look at the Mark Sumrek and Guri Hero stuff, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, again, you're talking about like the involvement of a creator and their ability to profit from it financially versus, the idea existing in the world and people doing things with it. It's not an easy answer. It's never ever going to be. It's always especially when you have something that is like a corporate IP. Because Supreme Blue Rose is a different thing. That's two creators, and one of them is horrible.
Yeah.
So it's like, that ruins it. But when you're talking about, Batman, I'm sure there's plenty of people over the years who have worked on Batman that are terrible people. Gerard Jones, I'm pretty sure, has worked on it at some point. But does that ruin Batman? No, man. It ruins a story, but it doesn't ruin the character, because they didn't necessarily create that character, or that character grew beyond what they established.
I thought you were going to go a different direction.
How do you mean?
And go with Julia Schwartz.
Or Bob Kane.
Sure.
Bob Kane's terrible.
Yeah.
Bob Kane's a horrible human being.
Yeah.
And yet, I'm not, removing Batman comics from the store.
I just think that we haven't focused enough on the idea of a Louise Simonson, June Brigman, real-life Thelma and Louise.
Sure. Again, it kind of, I guess getting back to Thelma and Louise, it kind of depends on, that's different than, a spree killing.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a different situation. Yeah, if they went, Natural Born Killers or something, or, American Psycho, we're in a different territory here. That's difficult to square.
All I'm saying is, just because these creators may be older, don't put it past them. They can still do anything.
Oh, for sure. I saw Wheezy and June Brigman in one of those Disney Plus documentaries a year or so ago. And they're both incredibly vital women.
Yeah.
June Brigman, I think, is doing the Mary Worth strip. And Wheezy just did an X-Men Legends thing.
Sure.
With Walt Simonson.
My point is, I believe if they wanted to, they could kill people.
Sure. I believe they can do whatever they want.
Right.
They created Power Pack.
That's what I said.
Of course they can do whatever they want.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Finally.
This is a thing that we don't necessarily have, but probably need. There's a lot of things as a corporation that we don't really have. For example, an HR handbook.
True.
I mean, we know when things are wrong.
Not as much as we probably should.
And then I apologize. Oh no, we still do them. We just know that they're wrong. But specifically, as evidenced by this week, we don't really have a snow protocol.
How do you mean?
What to do in blizzards?
Oh, no business.
Oh, I mean that's that's for sure.
Jump to the end. No business.
Yeah.
Have as much business as
last
week.
So I mean, we don't really have any plans in place other than
what plans do we need?
Let's see how bad it gets and go from there. What if we can't get the books?
There's a lot of stuff that you can't really plan for because it's completely out of your hands. The things we can plan for get to the store. And obviously, for you and I, we live close enough to the store where I could literally walk to the store. I could walk to the store in a blizzard.
You have before.
I have before.
You hated it.
The store's...
You come home literally frozen.
Sure. Store's going to open no matter what. We're going to be open for business. Other people, obviously, who live farther away or have different circumstances may not come in. Molly Jane may not make it in.
Sure.
Or Stella may not come in, or Andrew may not come in. Although Andrew lives close enough that he definitely could come in. But, outside of that, what happens if we can't get the books? Man, that's every week where it's what if UPS doesn't show up? I don't know. Then we don't have books to sell until we do.
No, I mean, UPS not showing up is out of our hands.
Right.
But also,
out of our hands.
we still have if UPS doesn't show up, we still technically have the ability to track those books down and go to a facility and pick them up.
Sure, but anything could happen. Like, we're already hearing from different suppliers where it's like, they don't know where the books are going to be over the next few days.
Yeah, we were going to get into that. Just that it did snow in Chicago this week. And
a lot of places.
Historically, well, we're not in a lot of places. We're in Chicago.
We could be in a lot of places, though.
Simultaneously?
If we were listening
like
to
Santa?
the podcast. I thought there was,
that's true.
I thought there were because there's multiple Santas. Like, there's an infinite number of Santas that all, like, drop simultaneously. Isn't that the Fables thing?
No, the Fables thing is that there's one Santa who visits an infinite number of homes simultaneously.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's the exact opposite.
Oh, so, like,
it's one Santa and one gift.
Uh-huh.
He spends all year, well, prisoner, but, like, the elves and everybody, they make one gift, and that one Santa goes to one house and delivers it, and at that point, it is gifts delivered to every house at the exact same time.
I see.
Although I do like your Santa Incorporated idea.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of where they warehoused, how do they have to have locations around the globe.
I think you would do a thing where, like, as they leave the North Pole, they're infinitely repeating. So as, you know, there's one Santa, and then he basically passes a threshold, and then an infinite number of Santas leave simultaneously to every point on the globe.
And then, culturally, they take the
kind of
appearance of their geographical location.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, they are reflective of the person who they're delivering a gift to.
Sure.
Or the home they're delivering a gift to. Because each person wouldn't have, like, a personal Santa.
Right, but each home has a Santa.
Yes.
Okay. What if there are joint homes? Like, you know...
Like a duplex?
No, I'm just saying, like, roommates of vastly different cultures.
Sure. Well, you can't ever see Santa. Like, that's kind of the thing.
But we can...
Like, a child could see Santa.
Yeah.
So, the Santa would look like whatever the child thinks Santa looks like. But, like, an adult would never see Santa because that's not how it works. Only children can see Santa Claus.
Do they see Santa, but it's just like a normal... Like, there's a, to borrow Doctor Who, perception filter, so they just see, like, someone they don't recognize or doesn't stand out to them?
No, they see Santa.
Yeah.
Like, kids know when they see
Santa. No, I'm talking about adults. Literally, an adult can see Santa, but they don't see Santa.
For an adult, it would be like, no, that's just the curtains or something. Like, or that's not really Santa. Like, that's... I know you think you saw Santa, but that's... Oh, what was Santa like? You know, how you humor a child when it's like, this didn't happen.
Need I remind everyone that a couple of years ago, the Divorce Gun released a song called Santa Clauses about all the Santa Clauses.
That's a good song, too.
Thank you. It may be my favorite Christmas song.
It's a really good one. I think it came out really well.
Okay, back to the Snow Protocol. Although, the Santa thing is way more interesting to me. So it snowed, and it wasn't even a heavy snow. Well, historically, nowhere near.
It was tricky because it was like light snow over a long duration.
Sure.
And that's what made it really difficult because it wasn't like 8 inches dropped in an hour. It was, you know, half an inch dropped over 16 hours.
Right. So my point is that is considerably more manageable than high winds, massive drifts.
I think maybe it's the opposite, though. It felt like it was a lot less... What was the word you used?
Manageable.
Manageable. It's a lot less manageable because it was... Like, we were noticing it where, like, you know, a plow could come along, and then in an hour it was like that plow never came because it just snowed just as much again as what it did before.
I just want to point out that
no one could get ahead of it.
Way more plows with their plows up and driving around.
We did. It's
I'm
true.
sure they were salting out the back, but
Jesus, I mean, the streets were not great until...
They're still not. Some of the side roads on the way home today were real bad.
Side roads are going to be like that till it melts, so they always are.
I gave Gina a ride today, and I was worried about being on her block because if there's no snow, you know, there's cars parked on either side, and I can pull over all the way to the right.
Sure.
It's a one-way street, so the car doesn't get past me. I can't on a day like today.
No one can.
So I got to find an open space, and I don't want to like get in that space because it might be hard to get out.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, we got stuck getting into the garage of the store.
That sucks.
I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was just downshift,
right? Of course,
and go a little bit. But it was just like, oh, come up into it, and you know, wait for the door to open, and stuck.
Yeah, but on Wednesday it was North Avenue and Western Avenue, which are main thoroughfares, that were in real bad shape for a while until I think basically like 4 or 5 at night. on Wednesday. Like, it was the entire day. It was really bad, and you could tell because no one came to the store.
But see, ultimately that's my point, because we've had way worse days of snow where people come in regularly.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I fully believe, and I think we talked about this during the week a little bit, that because of the pandemic and because everyone has gotten used to staying at home, snow is just one more reason to not go out.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a big part of it. For a lot of years in the past when we've had heavier snowfall, like, people still had to go into work, so it was easy to, if you're already out coming home or whatever, like, you might as well stop at the comic shop. But this, I mean,
if it's your only destination.
Yeah, a lot of people were already not going into work, so they were like, I'm definitely not going to dig out my car until Friday. But then B, you also had people who were going into work whose office is closed because it was too hard to get in. So you had a lot of people who just, the only thing they would have left the house for was to get comics, and it just did not seem like a smart thing. That said, right as we were about to open, Molly Jane was asking me, she's like, when do you think we're going to see the first person for today? And I'm like, oh my God, like 1 o'clock, no one's going to be here. And literally as soon as we unlocked the door, somebody came in. But that said, it was half as good as a normal Wednesday for us, almost exactly. It was significantly worse than the week before.
Half as good as what we, before 2022, would have called a mediocre Wednesday.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Well, Wednesdays, not counting last week,
right.
Wednesdays in January have been underperforming.
Yeah.
So, less than half of those.
I mean, you say underperforming, but like underperforming, relative to the back half of 2021. But you look at January 2021, and it was actually better. The month was better.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So there's a perception there of like...
A perception filter, you might say.
Maybe. Of it seeming slower, but it's just a seasonal thing of like Januaries are kind of slow. Like they do slow down a bit in the sense of like the weather's not as good. There's a lot of obstacles for people to overcome, and that's on top of people just being worn out from the end of the previous year.
Sure. Dal, I'm always going to be hypercritical about the bottom line financials because we have an extra mouth to feed. So
I know.
It's a thing where, it's better than last year. It has to be.
Sure.
It has to be an extra person.
I get it.
A full-time staff member better than last year.
I get it.
But anyway, so this Wednesday was like exactly 50% of what we consider the bare minimum of a post-pandemic Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. That said, I noticed from the transactions today that a lot of Wednesday folks were coming in today, which is sort of what I expected to happen. When we looked at the numbers for Thursday, you're like, man, even Thursday was slow. I thought people were going to be coming in. And I'm like, I don't think you're going to see anybody until like the weekend, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You'll probably see people starting to leave the house again and going out and doing things. Because I got an email from Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago saying that MSI was closing at like 3 o'clock on Wednesday and not opening again until Friday. There were people on Wednesday that were already like, Thursday's also a lost cause.
Nope, not doing it.
So that was an indication of like, I think a lot of people are going to be doing the same thing.
I will say that when I got home late Wednesday night and I stayed out and shoveled the garage and I laid down a bunch of salt that I carried in the back of the car. Mm-hmm. And that was such a good idea because it's so, like, that salt path is all cleared.
Nice.
The rest of the alleyway is still, hills and valleys, peaks and trenches.
2 furrows.
Yeah, exactly.
Plowed in by tires.
Which, make it harder to back up.
Of course.
But getting to that point, I'm like, man, look, we can see the blacktop in the alley right in front of
That's great.
Our garage. So it was worth the extra effort.
Good work.
The stairs, however, will never be touched.
The back stairs?
Yeah.
They can be. They haven't yet.
They'll wait until it melts.
I don't know if I want to wait that long, but it's certainly a thing where it's like... maybe.
I will say that the alley between the buildings is horrifically treacherous because...
Really? Okay.
Well, they tore a bunch of gutters down yesterday.
Really?
That was all that horrible clattering and noise and everything.
Hadn't heard it.
So water's just dripping. Yeah, there's one point I ran out. I'm like, what's happening? So water just pours down.
Sure.
So it's solid ice back there.
Oh, God. That sucks.
And it's from the top step in the back all the way to around the curb. So it's like...
That's rough.
Hold on to window guards. Hold on to window guards.
It definitely sounds like the stairs should be shoveled tomorrow.
Or the side needs to be iced. Something like that. But, one of the things we do at the store regularly is shovel out in front. Mm-hmm. Every time the city little sidewalk plows go by, which are great that they do, they pack snow in front of the doorway.
They can, yeah.
And they just stack up salt. They dump a lot of salt.
Which I'm fine with.
Yeah, but I'm not, because I have to go out there and get rid of it all in front of the doorway because of how much comes in. Even like when I clear that path, so much salt comes in. So if you don't, it's just like taking a 25-pound bag and just dumping it in the store.
I mean, I get it. Like, that sucks. But I like how non-treacherous our front entry was.
Oh, no, we still keep, we do that. Okay. And when we got to the store on Wednesday, nothing had been done. So you opened, I shoveled, and I shoveled down to the corner so people coming from the train had a path, and down to the other end, which I did not do in the blizzard of 2011 because it wasn't worth it.
No. And
as soon as I finished doing that, that's when the plow came by and just made it look great.
Excellent.
So we didn't realize that. Molly Jane told us later that when because Matt Bear was still there when the plow came.
Yeah.
So when we were talking to somebody after that, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so glad it's so shoveled out there," and we're both like, "Yeah, I did it. I did it just for you." Oh no, the city did it way better than I did. So I mean, we have snow shovel, we have a spade for cracking ice, we have bags of ice, and I think that's every store owner's responsibility in a city that has snowfall to be ready for those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know plenty of stores that do not. And
well, they should work on that.
Having the mats right at the doorway to stomp the snow off of when you come in.
Sure. To
protect new carpet.
Nice.
It is a matter of vacuuming every day now, though, because of the what have you.
It's that time of year.
And if one of us couldn't have made it in Wednesday, fine. There were two of us.
Yeah, it definitely was
two more people.
Not a day that needed 3 people on it.
I mean, I still did my tasks.
I mean, me too.
But
Jane did hers.
Because of the snow, everything is messed up.
Yes. We
normally get our DC books anywhere from Tuesday, which is rare, through Friday for the following week. Now we're not on schedule to get them until Monday.
Yep.
If then.
At least we got Marvel already.
We got Marvel, which
That's
is
nice.
Unexpected, and there's a lot of shortages.
Shortages?
Just FYI.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. That's not good.
And overages.
That's also not good.
Yeah.
But in a different way.
But no damages.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of onesies, twosies, fivesies, things like that.
I mean, 5Zs isn't great, but it depends on the book.
Yeah. Completely shorted a Star Wars Darth Vader cover.
Oh, okay.
Just 2 copies.
Okay.
Also, as you said before, distributors are saying, hey, books are going to be late this week, next week.
Yeah, depending on where the distributors are, they might have gotten the shipments from printers and publishers late, which then, increases the amount of time it's going to take them to get the books out the door to their accounts like, Challengers and other comic shops. And then, as those are getting shipped out, you're in a position where UPS might be backed up and UPS might be slow and UPS might not be able to get to certain parts of the country. So it's, this week and next week, books for the 9th and 16th. Tricky.
Yeah.
Going to be tricky.
Lunar already gave us a list of books not coming out.
Until the 23rd.
Yeah.
Well, 22nd, technically.
But you know how we always complain about deliveries every single day?
Yes.
And how just massive they are?
Yes.
Guess what they didn't have yesterday?
Any deliveries?
Nope.
Wow.
No mail, no UPS.
Lucky break.
No one dropped anything off.
Did mail show up today?
No.
So do I need to schedule a pickup? Because we got stuff going out.
Yeah, 9 packages, call it like 11 pounds.
Okay, I will.
Still waiting for one club member to pay for their box.
I saw.
But even today's UPS was all of next week's Marvel Comics, no trades yet, and normally we get the trades on Fridays.
Right.
1 Simon & Schuster box.
Okay.
2 Southern Hobby boxes.
Okay.
That's it.
No, all right.
No Diamond restock, no...
I can't remember the last time I did a reorder. I think we might have gotten everything. There was a Penguin Random House one that got put in a couple days ago, but we have not done a lot of reorders this week because business has been incredibly slow because of the weather. So we haven't sold a lot of books that need restocking.
Yep.
I ran through all of our suppliers for restocks on Thursday, and Penguin Random House was the only one we had enough stuff sold out for that it was worth doing a reorder. Everybody else, it was anywhere between 1 and 9 books sold. So it's I'm not putting an order together for that. It's not going to hit any minimums. But we got the sale coming up next week, so I assume we'll sell a few more things.
Probably a couple. It's so hard, and I'll be doing this tomorrow as well, and you'll probably have it on Sunday, to ring somebody up who's buying a stack of trades and not be like, there's a sale next week, right?
Oh, people do it though. Like I get it because I've been in those positions where it's there's a sale coming up. I want this now though.
Sure. Or I can't make it back or whatever.
For a variety of reasons, either because I don't trust that I'll be able to get back before it might sell out, so I might as well buy it now while I can, or but I want to enjoy it today, not next Tuesday.
It's comic books, Dal. No one buys them and reads them right away.
I don't know about that.
That's a lie. Plenty of people do.
They do. A lot of people.
Just not every single book you buy.
No.
We had somebody reach out to us online and just be like, hey, I'm finally coming in Sunday after 3 months. I'm like, hey, that's great. Also, if you wait a day, it's a sale.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, just like tomorrow, it's going to be, if anybody's buying things, I don't want to be like, there's a sale, right?
You fold up the flyer, you put it in the books and say, hey, we're having a sale. If you think of anything else you need, come on back.
Sure.
I mean, we haven't hid that there's a sale coming up.
There's 3 giant banners in the windows.
I expect the people who are buying anything, over the next couple days are aware of the possibilities, but are opting to get it now.
And art is subjective. I know that. Everyone's tastes are different. Mm-hmm. I can honestly say this year's sale shirt has had the most people compliment it before the sale that we've ever had.
That is true. The response has been overwhelmingly positive.
And I hope that definitely inspires people to get the shirt.
Let's hope. Yeah. We always want to make up a whole bunch of shirts for this.
Yeah, and oftentimes our shirt supplier will be like, hey, if you order X amount of more, this is much cheaper. Like, this year we're not doing that. We're not overprinting the shirt.
No.
The shirt, that's it. We're just doing it.
Yeah.
But if you spend $15 more, no. Mm-hmm. We're not. Sorry, John, we're not doing it. This only way to get this shirt is through the sale.
True.
We need more Lore Olympus.
Okay.
Lore Olympi? Lore's Olympus?
I thought some got ordered recently. I'll have to check stock.
Okay, well, maybe they're still coming in.
Maybe. It's tough with PRH because sometimes it can take a while for orders to trickle out. So we might have ordered a bunch a week ago and they won't show up until Monday or whatever. I'll have to double check.
Today, being Friday, is Gina and myself. Mm-hmm. And I like for us to have bigger projects to do.
Okay.
And as you know, I hit Home Depot and I made a Home Depot run for 3 separate construction-esque projects I have in mind. And I was excited to get a crack on them today. Mm-hmm. But all today was checking in all the books, putting in all the new product, and fixing a couple things left over from yesterday.
Sure.
That was the entire day.
Jeez.
Nothing else got done. I didn't get a chance to do any of the normal Friday paperwork.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't get to do any of these. And when I want to do a thing, one of them I'm not looking forward to. It's very labor intensive. But the first thing I had to do was stop and build the little lip guard for
the interior gutters.
The interior gutters over the middle tables because
we're getting some leaks.
Yeah, and it's not that the gutters don't work. It's that this is snow melting off of the deck above those windows, and so it's kind of running in through cracks. Mm-hmm. It's not coming in through the
seal of the glass.
Yeah, or I can't remember the actual mechanical name for the rope that runs down the middle of the cinder blocks to absorb the moisture and to direct it to the flashing that runs it off the building, other than calling them tampons, which is how they were described to me by the previous building's owner. Mm-hmm. So rather than the water being coming down because of rainfall, it's literally coming in from cracks on the deck above us, so it runs past the gutter and drips down.
Right.
So based off of where the moisture was hitting, you could still see moisture on the lip of the gutter. I hope by extending it out by 2 inches or so will, I hope, rectify that.
Hopefully.
No idea. There was no dripping at all today whatsoever, but good. I guess it was too cold.
That's good.
So, I mean, it's still got to melt sometime.
Yeah, sure.
Not looking forward to seeing how that works. Plus, it doesn't look right. I mean, you've seen the one in Sidekicks.
Yeah, but I also know that people generally don't look up at that.
Right, sure. But we do.
We do.
And those were never meant to be more than a temporary solution. I just don't have a better solution.
I don't know that there is a better solution beyond the building finally fixes the stuff that's wrong, but they're never going to.
The other solution I had for the Sidekicks one was to mount another gutter at the very top. But this wouldn't work for the deck leaking.
Nope.
Because it would travel past it. The solution is thoroughly caulk that crack.
I guess, but there's always going to be something else. That's the problem.
Yeah, and then that forces the water elsewhere.
You're just patching holes rather than actually, like...
preventing it.
Yeah.
The water's still in there.
Altering the foundation of the problem.
Right. Which we'll never be able to do.
No.
At least there's hot water now.
Yeah, I like that.
Minor victories. You still have to let it run for like a good couple minutes to get it really...
I like it just fine.
What else is I going to say about unpacking? There's a few things I need to talk to you about that, but that has to be later.
Okay. Not
now. We don't need to bore people with the ins and outs and the paperwork and things like that.
True.
It is a little more complicated system to add a product from scratch.
Sure.
Than ComicSuite.
It is and it isn't.
But that's a Shopify thing, not a Managed Comics thing.
But that's the thing. Like, I think it seems more complicated because you're doing the entire process as opposed to before where at most you would do half the process and then I would end up doing the other half of the process when stuff moved to the online storefront. Stuff was never 100% complete because of gaps in Diamond's database or things that Octopus screwed up or whatever.
Oh, I'm talking well before that. Nothing to do with the web store. Just when a couple years ago, a product comes in, it's not in our system. Like, oh, Dice from Southern Hobby or whatever. You scan it, you type a description, you put an item code.
Sure.
There you go.
That's true.
Now there's downloading photos.
Yeah, because we're making stuff available for our online storefront, as well as hopefully making things a little bit more better information as far as the back end experience for the in-store purchases. It's interesting to be able to go through and things can have a lot of different weird names, and if you're trying to find something in the system, it's like, is this the right one? And then it's like, well, it's got an image, and you look at the cover and you look at the image and you're like, yes, this is the right one. That's nice to be able to do, and that's something we didn't really have an option with before because that information was not plugged in.
We got in these Pokemon Pokeball tins before those were cracked into. We had 4 people very excited to come in looking at Pokemon stuff and just be like, is this all the Pokemon cards you have? It's 4 different series worth of Pokemon cards. It's more than we've ever had at one time as far as variety.
Seriously.
And they were disappointed and bought nothing.
Okay.
Then somebody else came in later as I was going through stuff, and they were really excited for the Pokeballs. And so I'm like, fine, I'll drop everything, put those in the system so you can buy one while you're here.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing I noticed. I was complaining to you before that sometimes you put a thing in the system, but the barcode isn't active right away. But if you search for it, you can find it.
Uh-huh.
Well, later in the day, like the new Mandalorian pops or the Transformers all populate fine.
Right.
The Pokeballs still don't scan right, and I notice when you scan them, it's not scanning the 0 at the start of it.
Oh.
Yet if you go into the item description, it shows that there's a 0 in front of...
Oh. So did you take away that 0?
No, because the 0 is part of it.
If it's not scanning it, it's not part of it.
Huh.
I mean, you're right in that you would look at it and think that's part of it, but whatever it's scanning is what you need to have in the barcode field, regardless of what digits are actually on the label.
No, I didn't do that.
Okay. I can go in and do that. It's no big deal.
I
got to go in and plug in some stuff to make sure that all of the stuff that we got in today counts as a new release for the sale.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think we're pretty much done as far as the website and the in-store experience goes for the sale.
I was tagging things as having come in on Wednesday.
You were giving them the new release tag?
Last week. I mean, you know how I said...
Right. The 202 tag?
Yeah, 2022-02-02.
Everything?
I might have missed one or two.
Okay.
Also, it's always good for me to double-check myself, because several of the Transformers, I had somehow flipped cost and retail.
Oh, sure.
So, scan it. I'm like, why does it say that's $17?
Nope.
Go back into it. Oh, look, I put the retail in the cost and the cost in the retail.
Yep.
Yeah, so you may want to check.
I'll take a look at it.
But see, this is one of the things I found annoying with... it's great when you find something in Managed Comics that already exists.
Sure.
And it lets you say, oh, I got 2 of these.
Right.
Or, hey, here's my price for them.
Right.
It doesn't let you edit the title. No. You have to go back in later.
Yeah.
And also you have to go back in to set your store tagging, your product codes or whatever.
Yeah, product types and all that sort of stuff. Which I honestly is fine. Like, there's a lot of mopping up I do with Managed Comics items at the beginning of the week. Basically, like, if we receive DC stuff on Sunday, then it's like Sunday night through Tuesday night to make sure everything's categorized correctly, that the taxes are correct, that the product types are correct, vendors are correct, images are correct, all that stuff is ready to go, so that not only will it all ring up correctly on Wednesday and look right in our system on Wednesday, but then Wednesday night I don't have to do everything, so that when everything goes live on the website on Thursday, it's already done Tuesday night.
The only thing that I find annoying in that procedure is when it's something like Transformers, I don't know, Legends, War for Cybertron, this word, this series, and then the name of the product, the item. Mm-hmm. It's like, I brought these into the system. I don't remember how they had it phrased.
Sure. So it's hard to find them, you mean?
Yeah.
What I usually do in that circumstance is just change the sorting in the products tab to just created newest first. And then
that could work.
And then you don't have to search for anything, because it's like whatever you just received today is probably going to be on that first page.
Does that assume that it was created new for us because we brought it in,
yes.
not when whoever created it?
It literally means, like, when was it created for our storefront?
Yeah. Because there were some barcodes that Transformers tagged to full cases, so I had to go in and edit all that down. And it was weird to me that we got a case assortment, and 2 of the figures were already in Managed Comics, and 2 of them were not.
Probably because they're in previous waves.
Oh, okay. That explains.
There's been more repacks and stuff, because this was like a final wave of figures. So, like, Slammer and Pipes, I think, were new, and then, like, Black Arachnia and whoever the fourth one was.
Okay,
were
first it's Autobot Slammer and Autobot Pipes.
Cool.
And then it's Black Arachnia and Airazor.
Yeah. Yeah, Eraser and Black Arachnia were in previous waves of Kingdom.
It's like the word eraser, mm-hmm. but it's air plus razor, but minus 1 extra R.
She's like a razor in the air.
Honestly, didn't know it was a woman.
Sure.
All I cared about was getting the pictures. And then finding
Where
out
did you go for the pictures?
The internet.
I usually go to HasbroPulse.com.
Okay.
Because you can usually just plug in a name and it'll come up, and then they have I'll find the box image just in their carousel of images.
Yeah, so that's what I did too. I used all the box images, and I always got like the same view.
Yeah.
But then when I found out one of them was imported, it was just the figure.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not going back to change it.
That's fine.
Even though I do have all the pictures I downloaded.
That's fine.
In the images folder on the desktop.
It's not a big deal. But yeah, I will always use the box image for Hasbro stuff.
Yeah, because that's what they're buying. They're buying the box.
Yeah.
So they know what it looks like. Like, that's how I was judging it from the little angle swipe thing. I'm like, oh, there's part of a wing and a leg.
Yeah,
it's that one.
With the pop vinyls, like, the default for, like, Diamond and for Managed Comics was always just, like, the unboxed figure.
Yeah.
That's what I still pick. Like, when I have to go find something, it's like I'm going to choose the out-of-box picture for the pop.
Well, I found boxed figures for all of them, and turns out all 3 were in the system already.
Yay.
So they were unboxed figures.
Okay.
The dumbest thing was I was writing everything on the back of the Southern Hobby invoice, and it doesn't have breakdowns. So I was doing the full title breakdown for the searches, and I was having Gina read them off.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, it's Cobb Vanth.
Cobb Vanth?
Okay.
Is that a pop we got in?
Yeah. Can you spell that, please?
It's Raylan Givens.
Is it?
Yeah. Cobb Vanth is Timothy Oliphant.
Nice. I'm like, you got to spell that. And then
C-O-B-B-V-A-N-T-H.
the next one was Ming-Na Wen's character.
Fennec Shand.
Who already has a pop.
Correct. From her Book of Boba Fett appearance.
Yeah.
But she looked differently when she was in The Mandalorian, so they gave her a pop for that too.
And this was one of those full case pops. Like they're starting off in full cases.
Okay.
So we've been ordering some of those.
Sure.
Usually it's like 1 each of 6 pops. This was 2 each of 3 pops.
Oh, interesting.
And the third is the most ridiculous character. It's like Luke Sky something or other.
Luke Skyjumper.
Yeah.
He's a parachutist.
And he's holding like a Kermit the Frog puppet or something.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe he's like a puppeteer. I don't know.
I thought it was a nod to Frank Oz.
I don't know that he's associated with any of that Star Wars stuff, but maybe.
It's hard to tell. Yeah, and then it was, wait, is this a repaint? Did this come out with this? No, they did a gold one. No, that's yellow. And too much confusion over changes in action figures and things.
Sure.
But yeah, so anyway, the moral of the story is I didn't get to do any of my fun construction-y stuff.
Sorry, buddy.
And I don't know when that's going to happen.
I doubt it's going to happen next week with the sale.
I do... yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
Although by Friday, the sale will be done. No, that's not true. The sale's good every week.
Yeah, it's the entire week, and I mean, it'll be busy. Should be busy Monday because it's the first day of the sale. It should be busy Sunday because it's the Sunday and it's the last day of the sale. But it'll probably also be busy Wednesday because it's Wednesday, and Friday and Saturday. Well, Saturday,
yeah,
because it's a big day.
So this is I think the first sale in a very long time where I don't work the start or the finish.
No, I guess not.
It's just the way it lines up on the calendar.
You lucked out, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it happens once in a while. But this is also, the sale resets as to what's new this week each Wednesday. So this is the only time the sale doesn't is when the sale starts on a Wednesday. Then you're out of luck.
That's true.
But you get 2 days of stuff that's going to be on the new this week shelf that isn't.
Right.
However, all the figures we just put out today, those will stay new this week.
Will they?
Yeah, because they're only out for like a couple days.
Okay. I'll just need to know that because how I do the tagging in the system.
Oh, okay. I assume you'd want... I mean, it's Transformers. I don't care.
Sure. It's just tricky because, like, what I was going to be doing was basically anything that's currently tagged with the new release code for February 2nd.
Yeah, that's because this is the first year we're not actually...
Will then get tagged
ringing
with
things up.
the sale tag on the night, like the Wednesday morning of whatever. But that's fine because I can just go in and then, untag a few items from that code. It's not a big deal.
It's just that none of this is supposed to make more work for you, but that's all it does.
It's fine. I mean,
But just before you talked about all the things you do, like, Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night.
Sure.
The whole point of the system is to not have to do those things.
I mean, yes and no. Like, obviously, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right now is hopefully not long-term work I'm going to have to do forever. That would be regrettable. There are improvements coming to Manage Comics all the time that,
All the time! Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. That can hopefully alleviate some of the extra work and the busy work over time. But some of it is just the sort of thing where, like, I'd rather work on it a little bit at home on a Monday night to make everything going forward significantly easier. And that's kind of what we're talking about when it comes to the tagging for sale items, is that by tagging everything correctly, not only do we make sure that everyone who's buying stuff on the website gets the correct deal, but all of the in-store customers do as well. Like, every year in the past, it's been kind of tricky to ring up sale items, depending on if you're also getting subscription stuff. But this year, it should hopefully be a lot more streamlined in that how the subscription stuff is in the system, and then the register automatically taking off discounts off of the correct items as we scan them should make the whole sale stuff kind of something you don't even have to pay attention to as you're ringing things out.
Here's a few fun little quirks I found today.
Yay.
We don't have a DC $2.99 subscriber item code.
Do we need one?
Button. We did today.
What was the $2.99 book DC sells?
Batman Scooby-Doo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can make one. It's really good.
It's only got one more issue, so at this point.
Yeah.
But the dumbest part was...
Takes a second to do.
Somebody was buying... Someone was picking up the subscription that have this, and they had 9 and 10. 9 isn't in the system at all.
Sure. That makes sense.
So I just rang up 2 10s.
Okay.
Because who cares?
Yeah, that's fine.
Also, we don't have... And this is just way too out of... we don't have the same subscription thing for graphic novels.
No, mostly because at that point, there's too many variables, so you might as well just do like the 100 and then discount it down to whatever the amount should be.
Well, what I did was I rang them all up individually, took the discount off, and then went back in and changed the quantities.
I did that for somebody on Wednesday, where they were getting a graphic novel on hold, and it's like, I'm just going to do this because it's just faster to remember, increase that one book by one quantity, and you're good.
Here's another fun quirk that happened to both Gina and myself when we were ringing ourselves up.
Sure.
So we ring ourselves up the old way.
Mm-hmm.
Each time we go into orders, pull up my orders, send it to draft, go into drafts, not there.
That's interesting. Because that was a problem that we were having with some stuff on Tuesday night.
Okay.
And I sent an image and a description of the problem to Brian, and he was going to look into it. But weirdly, it happened 2 times on Tuesday night and didn't happen a third time. And since we don't usually ring stuff out that way, I'm like, I guess those two were a problem.
So because it was 2 employees, I wondered if it was an employee-only thing. Nope. But then our records are just gone.
Yeah.
So I had Gina ring herself up normally. Then I went back in and changed all the quantities on the books she bought.
The thing is, I don't think they are gone. I don't know if I can find it here. Maybe.
I wouldn't have you do it on your phone. Oh, there's your iPad.
There's my iPad.
It's like having the store at your...
I was reading some comic books.
Nerd.
Yep.
Total nerd. Next thing you know, you're going to be watching wrestling.
Total nerd. Let's go to Shopify apps.
I had somebody ask today if we were going to Rampage tonight. And I said, kind of. We already did. Hey, they don't have to know how things are taped and whatnot. And also, Rampage isn't necessarily always taped. It's live some nights.
That's true.
We just, already saw it and know who won all 4 matches. And could totally ruin it, except for the fact that you wouldn't hear this until Saturday if you're a patron.
Oh, for sure.
Hey, speaking of patrons.
Patrons.
Bam!
Hey, this is the point in the episode where we like to thank all of our patrons this month.
Including our annual patrons, Becca Hilburn and Joseph Coco, Brent Helt, Dal's mom Diane Bush, Jose Villagomez, Josh Crawley of Westfield Comics, Michael Romanenko, Mike Loveday. Our patrons that have created their own tier, Andrew Drewtroit Comics Aaliyah, Christina McChrystal, Bridget K. Neville, Chris Burton. Our other generous patrons from the Say My Name tier, Arun Singh, Social Media Vampire, Ben-Hur Benedict Calaguas, Bradley Raider, Braden, Brian Garside from Manage Comics, Christopher Haith, Drew Triner and Ashley Edwards, Challengers Reservist Fallon Mackerline, my brother George W. Brower, Heidi D., Jacob Sorelli of Kamikaze in Tel Aviv, from 11 O'Clock Comics, Jason Wood, Jay Johnson, Josh Trigg, Mark Hammond of All Yeah Comics, Margie, Keith, Logan, and Malcolm Springham, Marcus Nasso, Matt Armstrong, Mitchell Davies of All-Star Comics in Melbourne, Australia, Morgan Kaiju Perry, Nick Baldwin, Robert Burns, Ron Payne, Ryan Alcock, Ryan Hecht, Sean Bowers, Tad Eggleston and Johnny Williams, Thomas Nagovin of Century Guild, Walt Grogan. And if you would like to hear your name thanked once a month on this very podcast, head over to patreon.com/challengers and pledge at the $5 Say My Name level. Thank you all very much, and a big thanks to all of our other patrons who generously support this podcast at different pledge tiers. Or perhaps you wouldn't hear it until Sunday night or Monday morning.
So go to Aired.
What am I looking at?
So if you go to the customer order screen, you can change status, which is normally pulled to Aired.
Okay.
And then stuff is in there. Yours isn't in there.
Okay.
But Gina's is. And that's what Gina had in her cart.
Huh. Mine was only one single book, which, fine.
Yeah.
So if you want to just delete hers.
I can't. I mean, so when I sent this screen to...
Is this the draft order? What is this?
No, this is in Manage Comics app.
Yeah.
Customer orders.
Okay.
Which is, again, normally... the default here is pulled. So this is where you would normally, look at someone's account and see what they have and close it or invoice it or delete it or whatever.
So that isn't things that were rung up today. That's old books.
Yeah, basically what happened... So the status here...
It's so different on your iPad than...
This is stuff that we pulled into a draft order that never made it to a draft order. There was an error, and so it just lives in here.
Okay.
These were the two that I was doing Tuesday night. That just disappeared.
Uh-huh.
The third one didn't, but yeah, these are the ones from today.
Huh. But when you... Okay, so Tap Gina's 7.
Yeah.
But there's no... Okay. Who else?
Today.
Wait, hold on. There was somebody I was... Okay, so James Christopher had 20 books in his order.
Okay.
But half of them were stuff he bought last week.
Oh, I don't know.
So what I was trying to do was delete the ones that he'd already bought.
Okay.
And every time you hit the trash can icon, it said an error occurred.
Something went wrong. Yeah. Anything... I was noticing that for anything that was a Marvel book this week, because we had some people who had placed duplicate orders. They were subscribed to a book, and then they also did a special order for it. So we only pulled them the one copy that they would want, and then tried to go into their customer orders on Managed Comics to delete the duplicate item. And every time it was something went wrong. And again, that was the thing we passed along to Brian, and he was going to look into.
Okay. But I mean, it's all stuff that we know came out last week, and we know James was in, so... Right. Fine, just delete it all, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But I was just trying to make it a little more clear. And
I mean, I think in that instance, it probably wouldn't even matter if you deleted everything in his account.
It doesn't.
He's buying whatever he's got, and the records don't matter.
Here is the thing I felt a little bit bad about with him today. And this just goes to show you, we all know I'm not a Star Wars guy.
Still?
I've seen most of the movies, not all of them. But one.
You've been to the theater for a lot of them, even if you haven't seen them all.
For all of them, except for one I've been to the theater for. Okay.
You just slept through a bunch of them.
Not a bunch of them.
You slept through parts of a bunch of them.
Definitely the third one.
Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Definitely slept a lot in that one.
Sure.
I never saw Attack of the Clones.
Okay.
Anyway.
So
that's my involvement with Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
The movies.
Sure.
That I've seen in the theater, and that's it.
Understood.
Just to show you how much I don't know, what is the new thing right now? Crimson
Reign.
Okay, I want to say Crimson Reign, but then I'm like, wait, isn't it Devil's Reign?
No.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
But yes.
So
Devil's Reign #1 and Crimson Reign #1 came out on the exact same week, and it was very, very weird.
There was something else, too. Crimson Cage. Just to make everything tie together.
That's true.
So, James came up and said, hey, so what is... he's like, I'm just dipping my toe back into Star Wars. So what is Crimson Reign?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh man, you picked the wrong guy. I don't know. And I also kind of don't care. He's like, well, Charles Soule's writing it. So I guess it's spinning out of what he's doing. I'm like, it sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So I tried. I'm like, I feel really bad. I can't answer this for you. Gina? Mike Love? Anybody? Nope.
No. I don't.
So that's a horrible answer to give somebody.
It really is, especially for what's considered like a larger event at Marvel. Not Devil's Reign large, but certainly a book that they've put a lot of promotional muscle behind.
Somebody asked today, "What is Devil's Reign?" and I gave them a pitch for it, and they're like, "Great." I'm like, "Oh, we don't have any."
Oh God, yeah. I mean, everything's gone back to press.
Yeah.
We've reordered a bunch of stuff. I don't know if we're going to be getting new printings anytime soon.
Anyway,
the whole series will probably be over by the time we get reprints in.
Crimson Soul.
Crimson Reign is...
I know, I said Soul because of Charles Soule.
I believe a sequel to the War of the Bounty Hunters thing that Charles Soule was doing, and it focuses largely, if not primarily, on the Emilia Clarke character from the Solo movie.
Oh, right. Her character's name was Crimson Reign. Got it. Why do they all have to be events? Why can't they just be storylines in a thing? I knew that. I did not. I mean, I knew that, I just didn't remember it.
The Solo movie ends with her basically becoming a crime boss, and so this is, years later, as she is, I guess,
she kills Vision.
More of a crime boss?
Right? She kills Vision?
She does. She murders
I saw that
Vision.
movie. And I was awake for it, too. And I had problems with that movie.
Remember when he dies and he says, what is Star Wars but nostalgia persisting? And it was like, ah.
Wow.
Ah.
Really makes you think.
Yeah.
Rogue One, that was a good one.
I remember Rogue One in the theaters mostly because you and I had seen it at the upstairs adult mature viewers section of the Showplace Icon, where it was plush seats and people could get like drinks and have little trays for the popcorns. And we were sitting next to two guys who had made a real night of it. Like they got like a bucket of champagne, I think, to celebrate Rogue One.
I remember that.
The part I remember specifically is that the entire last half hour, the guy who was sitting next to me was basically bouncing in his seat because he was enjoying it so much. Like, it was hitting so many nostalgia buttons in his brain that he was losing his mind.
Like, I could see you doing that for movie number 7.
So yes and no. Like, I think the part of it in Rogue One was that it was literally like lines of dialogue and reused shots from A New Hope.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. Now I get it.
Yeah,
now I know why.
Yeah. When the Rebel Alliance is attacking, it's very much like, oh my God, this is somebody who that movie apparently meant a lot to them.
Isn't that the part of the movie you liked the least?
It really was.
Yeah.
I mean, the more it became super beholden to, like, the literal reuse of stuff from A New Hope, I was like, this isn't for me anymore. Nostalgia is not such an all-encompassing thing as it was for a lot of people who enjoyed Rogue One. I like the stuff where it was weirder, like the middle section where it was just like, what is the culpability of people fighting a guerrilla insurgency? Like, are there lines you can cross, or are there no lines because everything you're doing is motivated by the greater good? Like, the interpretation of that, the exploration of those sort of, like, war movie tropes was way more interesting than just like, oh, it's Admiral Akbar. Like, great. Okay, cool.
Plus, they gave us the best droid.
K2SO?
K2SO, which is
I think he's coming back.
The fact that I could still say K2SO, I can say it, means something.
I think he's going to be in the Cassian Andor show that Disney Plus is doing, I think.
Okay, I'm not watching that. But we do.
I didn't expect you to.
We do have K2SO in Sidekicks.
We do?
Yeah. I bought him at Aldi one Christmas.
Yeah. It's always funny when people are like, how much are those
turtles?
The turtles or the plastic Darth Vader? And it's like, those aren't for sale, those are just decorations. We bought those at like a Target or a Toys R Us.
Yeah.
Like,
Batman was at Toys R Us, but he got stolen
when
in
Toys
blue.
R Us existed.
Yep.
Yeah, it's...
Darth Vader needs some surgery.
Sure.
Luckily, he's out of kids' reach.
Yeah, surgery's fine for him because he's more machine now than man.
Yeah, exactly.
Twisted and evil.
Yeah.
It's a rude thing for Ben Kenobi to say.
Well, he was prejudiced against him.
He's the reason why that guy's a machine now. Sliced off all his limbs.
It's not his fault that he couldn't handle it. That it's not Ben's fault that Anakin couldn't handle being limbless.
He could handle it.
Maybe if he literally can't handle. There's no hands anymore.
He has replacement hands.
I know. It's not the same. Talk to Luke about that. I guess people could do that in the most recent Boba Fett. And it's funny because like the internet exploded about how great that episode was.
The new one?
Yeah.
Ugh.
But then I had a couple people be like, that
incorrect.
Okay, there you go.
The pacing for that series is abysmal. Like, the fifth episode is a Mandalorian episode, and it's like, this is a fine diversion. But then the sixth episode is a diversion from the Mandalorian stuff. It's like a subsection of a subsection. It's just drilling into completely different things. Boba Fett's in episode 6. He doesn't say a line of dialogue. He's the title character.
I mean, I feel like it's just one big story. They're just different, looking at it from different lenses.
But they're telescoping further out into like side stories, and they haven't resolved their main story. Oh man.
This is my fault. I did this.
You did. I was not a fan of episode 6 of the Book of Boba Fett. The end. You know what I am watching that I'm really enjoying though?
Kamen Rider. We all know, Dal. We get it.
Murderville on Netflix.
Yeah?
Really funny.
It just started, right?
Funny.
Didn't it? Okay.
Yeah, it's only 6 episodes.
Good.
Do you know the premise?
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. First one's great. Second one, real good in a different way. Third one, real good.
How long are the episodes?
30 minutes.
Okay. Not good workout shows, but I'll do my best.
No, especially because you'll be laughing the entire time and you will not be able to breathe enough to exercise.
Great. Yeah,
I was dying.
Once I finished this season of Legends, I was going to hit that next.
Yeah, real good.
What I was going to say, as far as the sake of nostalgia, which is completely off topic entirely.
Just like the 6th episode of Book of Boba Fett.
Did you hear that they are doing that 90s show?
I did, yeah.
It's basically Red and Kitty's show.
Yeah, they're the recurring cast members from that 70s show, although apparently, like...
Well, it's the grandkids.
They're in discussions with all of the kids.
Right, it's the grandkid. It takes place 15 years
Eric
later.
It's Eric and Donna's daughter.
Right, so it's
Red and Kitty's granddaughter.
It's 95,
right.
And it's the granddaughter going to visit the grandparents for a summer.
Right.
So and then meeting with all the new kids in the neighborhood.
Right, and I mean, that's all... I watched, I think, a lot of that 70s show.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. I don't really have any interest in, like, a follow-up.
Sure.
But I think it's interesting that they would do it, like, Laura Prepon and Topher Grace, apparently not super interested. I gotta feel like you start with them, and they went, meh, and then you go to Red and Kitty, I think. Sure. I don't know that they would be your first choice, but it's cool that they're both coming back. It's neat to see. It's one of those shows that I don't 100% know who it's for, because...
Fox's that 80s show never made it.
I mean, technically, that's me. Like,
it's for you.
That 70s show was the thing that I watched a lot of, but, I mean, I wasn't born till 78. I didn't experience any of that.
Sure, but, I mean...
But that 90s show...
Most people weren't in the Korean War, but MASH was real popular.
But I gotta assume that a bunch of people watching MASH probably were around.
Or sure, were around, but weren't in it.
Like, yeah, they weren't soldiers in it, but they were around for that time. But I mean, this was about, that 70s show was largely about, American culture in a very specific time. So if you experience that, it's cool to see all that stuff reflected back at you, I would think. But if you were younger than that, like...
My memories
it worked fine for me, though.
of hanging out in the 70s did not have pot circles.
No? Well, the fact that this new show is happening in 1995 is much more of my wheelhouse as far as cultural references go.
Yeah. We'll see how...
But I don't know. That 80s show was... It wasn't the same characters, but it was like the same structure.
Yeah.
And I did not care about that show at all. Even though I was like, I get more of those references. Like, I don't care.
And lastly, I'm still watching How I Met Your Father. Episode 3 was awful.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The 1 and 2 had me. I was hooked. I'm following it. 3, real bad.
That's weird because I think for me, How I Met Your Mother didn't even really hook me until, the 3rd or 4th or 5th or 6th episode.
Yeah.
I remember the first one not really liking it a lot, but it was at a time where I was binge watching a lot more stuff, so I was just like, well, let's just see where this goes.
Hilary Duff had asked Neil Patrick Harris if they could have Barney cameo, and Neil Patrick Harris said he thinks that the world is better off without having a Barney Stinson on TV.
Wow.
Nowadays.
Wow.
Because all Barney would do is get people into trouble, and they look back at past episodes of How I Met Your Mother and think, oh, those are bad.
Yeah.
All the things that Barney used to do.
Yeah, that's true. Probably did not age very well.
But anyway, I'm glad we talked so much about the nostalgia TV factor in a comics industry business podcast.
Oh, yeah.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation.
That's us.
In Chicago. Snowy Chicago.
Snowy, cold Chicago.
I'm trying to remember what I read. I read the new Tom King, Elsa Chartier Substack book.
Yeah, all I read was Substacks this week.
Yeah.
And I was rereading House of M, I think, before we started this.
Yeah, and
because I'm like, Olivier Coipel. I want to see some Olivier Coipel art.
No, I did. I read Batman Killing Time.
How was that?
It's real good.
Okay, cool.
It is David Marquez doing his best George Jimenez impression.
Oh, good.
Right?
Works for me, sure.
So it's a lot of textures. It's a lot of tiny line work.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's a heist book, and it's all the things, and I don't know if this will bug you or not, but it's like, the heist is happening here, then it's like, hey, 2 days ago this happened to set this up, an hour ago this happened, like it's as if it's a linear line, and they're going up and down, giving you filling in the pieces.
Yeah, I don't...
And the structure of it is so... Oh, join the Dark Order. A message just came through from Ringside Collectibles about Dark Order figures.
Oh, okay.
Do
you need to go right now?
No. I think I already ordered those.
I think it did.
Yeah.
Because you showed me all the figures before on Ringside Collectibles.
Yeah. Also, a Ringside Collectibles order was supposed to come in this week, and it didn't. Weird. Oh, you shipping problems.
Yeah.
I forget what I was saying, but I enjoyed it because I thought, incredibly well thought out.
Okay.
And so much happens in the first issue only. And it's basically Tom King playing with his iterations of all the characters. Like, they're using...
Because it's Riddler, Penguin, Catwoman, Killer Croc?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's like, he's picking his favorite iterations. Yeah. Like, his Penguin looks just like Danny DeVito.
Sure.
And his Riddler is basically the Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo Riddler.
Sure. And
his Catwoman is his Catwoman because he's written her for forever.
Right.
But it's all classic iterations of... it's not a modern day Gotham story. It's a classic.
Yeah, this is a Batman fighting his rogues gallery.
Yeah. And for that, it's very enjoyable.
Well, that's cool. I'm looking forward to it. I've really been enjoying Human Target significantly more than I was enjoying Rorschach and Strange Adventures, which I found distancing. I liked some of the elements, but it was not either one of those. Neither one of those were stories where I'm like, this was great. It was more like, eh. But Human Target's legitimately fun and really good, and each issue's a blast. The only stuff I read this week was Substack stuff, because I don't recall us getting... We did get previous stuff. I didn't see it in my folder.
What?
I was going to read Rogue Sun with the new
Black
spinoff.
That was...
they just gave us that today.
Today, yeah.
I put it in my Google Drive. I didn't see it on my...
Oh, interesting.
Didn't sync right, I guess. So I ended up reading since this was a big Substack release week, as far as it was Comics Day or whatever on Tuesday.
The cool thing about talking about this stuff is that these are all going to come out eventually.
Yeah, and I honestly, here's the short version. I wish I'd waited because what they released, it's good stuff, but it's fractions of work. It's here's 13 pages from Black Cloak. It looks great.
Yeah.
It's not a discrete story. It's literally just the first 13 pages. So you just get to a point and it's like, that's it.
I mean, she does apologize for how abruptly it ends.
It does, and it ends super abruptly. It doesn't even, it's not like a cliffhanger or anything. It's not the end of a scene. It's just like, here you go.
It's a good story, though.
It's great. It looks gorgeous. I'm going to be very excited to read an entire book of it and hopefully, fingers crossed, sell an entire book of it. But then I also read the 3 Worlds, 3 Moons thing, and it was the same thing, where it's like, oh, here's like 18 pages. And it is kind of a story, but it's also like an introduction to this world and a sort of like vague setup for what could be a character's story down the line. And it's like, all right. Everything was, we're 6 months in on most of these Substacks.
Wow.
And Chip Zdarsky is still like the only one where I'm like, oh, I got my money's worth. I got 2 full issues
I can tell you,
public domain.
You'll never read it, but James Tynion's The Closet, real good.
Yeah, it's not for me. It's not my genre.
I know. I'll be happily
Tynion's been
pitching this book.
Yeah, been churning stuff out, and it's great, but it's all stuff where I'm like, I don't care about any of this. Like, it's...
Yeah, but you don't read Department of Truth.
Well, I was going to say, like, it's additional content for Department of Truth, which I don't read. It's...
But I mean, like...
It's Blue Book, and I don't care about that at all. Like, it's all... I would not, personally, not subscribe to James Tynion's Substack, because honestly, at this point, the stuff he's creating, I like Nice House on the Lake. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the target audience because this isn't my creator.
I really like Blue Book, and I'm not a fan of Michael Oeming anymore.
No.
Like, when he's announced for a book, I'm like, oh, man. Yeah. But I really enjoy Blue Book. I feel that some of the pacing is a little slow on that.
Okay.
I don't know if it's artistic choices or not, but the monster files that they do for Department of Truth, they're cute, but they're not reason enough to have that. Sure. But The Closet was great, man.
Okay. Yeah, I know
there's definitely Nice House on the Lake kind of vein of horror.
Sure. There's a lot of stuff that everyone's been announcing for the next year. Most of the creators that have Substacks that have released content have a lot more in the works than they've shown. Hickman just picked up a new signee for his 3 Worlds, 3 Moons initiative.
Stephen Wacker.
Marvel editor. Former Marvel exec. Stephen Wacker is now the editor for that franchise, which indicates that there is a lot more content in the pipeline.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, I'm at the point I was 5 months ago at Substack, where it's like, I would just rather wait for all this stuff. I don't need it in dribs and drabs.
Yeah. Like, as much as I like public domain pages at a time, we could go on Comixology and read All-Nighter immediately. Well, chapters, but I'm going to wait for the book.
I just, as a fan of the content, I don't feel as invested in the story when I'm reading essentially like 5 pages a week than I would be if I sat down and read 25 pages in one sitting. Like, then I'd be more, absorbed into the story. Instead, it's like, where are we at? What was going on? It's not a hard story to follow, and it's always very rewarding to read it, but it would be so much better if I was not reading it in, these sort of weekly chunks. And Zdarsky's the one who's putting out the most stuff, comics-wise, that I'm reading.
Well, I mean, you didn't look at the Tom King one yet?
No, I don't even know how to do it. I'd need to log in, I think, to Substack, right?
Oh, I mean...
I don't recall getting an email that had that in it.
Oh, what about BKV?
The only BKV thing I've gotten so far is him saying, like, we're doing a survey.
Okay. Because I didn't look into that, but I think he's got a full issue of stuff done.
Oh.
The Tom King one, there's a full issue.
Yeah, I have not gotten any emails about any of those.
Interesting.
And I don't know that I know the Substack login, so I'll have to get that from you to then
try and sure you could figure it out.
I could guess it over time, but I'd probably just ask you to tell me after we're finished recording.
I like that you think I remember.
I think you could find out.
I mean, I could figure it out the same way you would.
Oh, really? Okay.
I would look to the sun.
I mean, I use a password manager.
Okay.
That's how I remember a lot of the variables, when it's like, it could be one of these 4 things, and instead of guessing in a row and then potentially getting locked out, I just check my little password manager and go that one.
Yeah. Well, you're locked out of this podcast. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.